Hi and welcome to day 22 of the Lexical Lab Summer School 2019 video diary series. Today I was teaching the slightly lower group of my English Boost course, which is a kind of language development course. We have a lovely mix of people on the course. And one of the things I've always loved about teaching is that, through teaching you learn. And obviously one of the things you learn is you learn quite a lot about other languages because of the questions that students ask and the mistakes that students make. You start to understand a lot more about how their languages work. And little discussions that come up in class exemplify this. For example, today we had this whole issue of what do you call someone when you don't know if they're he or she? So, if you say, for example, I'm meeting a friend of mine, okay? All right, where are you meeting? In normal spoken English, this would obviously be them, okay? Even though you're referring to one person. Because if I don't know if your friend is a man or a woman, I wouldn't assume where are you meeting him or where are you meeting her. So you'd say, where are you meeting them? In the same way, my cousin's visiting me at the moment. All right, how long are they staying? And we talked a lot about how strange this was for lots of the students, because we have students in the class from Italy, from Russia, from Hungary, and all of them have gendered languages. So a word like friend or cousin would automatically be gendered. You'd be able to show if it was a male or a female. And so, those strange little differences that you get. We also had a conversation earlier this week about the idea of humid, where there's lots of water in the air. For me in English, you can say hot and humid, like if you go to Thailand, or like London was for one day last week, where it's really hot and humid and you sweat a lot. But you can't say cold and humid. If there's a lot of water in the air and it's cold, we would usually say cold and damp. For lots of languages, they would use the same adjective there. So you learn all of these kinds of things. One of the other things that you often learn about is just kind of cultural differences or different ways of seeing and processing the world. Yesterday with my group, we were talking about small talk, okay, like topics of small talk, things people like to make small talk about, things people hate talking about, how you begin conversations when you're making small talk. And we did a listening, and in the build-up to the listening, I gave the students 6 different situations, and they had to talk about what they would say or do in each situation. And one of them was imagining that you'd been to a lecture and you were sneaking out of the lecture hall because you were bored. And on your way out, you bumped into another student who you didn't know very well, who was also leaving. And what would you do? What would you talk about? And 5 or 6 of the students said, I would suggest we go for a walk. And this was a sort of strange idea for me. So I said, what, you'd just say, would you like to go for a walk? One of the students then checked in their dictionary and said, a stroll. I said, okay, so you're coming out of a lecture theatre and you would ask somebody, would you like to go for a stroll? It sounds really strange to me. It sounds like a sort of a bad chat-up line or like a euphemism for something. And we talked about this and they asked me, well, what would you say? I said, well, I'd probably say, do you want to go and get a coffee? And my students laughed and said, yeah, but a coffee, you have to pay money. If you just go for a walk or go for a stroll, it's free. And suddenly I sort of realised, okay, I see where you're coming from with this. You're just a bit more sensible with your money maybe than we are. And it's those little moments that come up in class where you suddenly realise the strangeness of your own assumptions and the strangeness of your own way of looking at the world when seen from someone else's point of view. That, for me, makes classroom teaching of English, an endlessly fascinating process. Thanks very much for watching. More tomorrow.